I left after my girlfriend asked for privacy with him with her best friend. So I moved out alone, saved the gate access log screenshot, her text, and the delivery invoice, packed my gear, blocked her, sent it to the county ethics board, and took a contract in Ogden, Utah. The access log email came in while I was packing up my tripod on a wet roadside outside Corvallis. It was one of those auto notices from our townhome gate system. Guest entry recorded, and then a name I knew too well. Riven Gant. I stood there with mud on my boots and rain on my sleeves, staring at my phone. My job is land surveying, so most days I measure lines that people argue over. I mark corners, I check plats, and I make sure the math matches the ground. That morning, the math of my life stopped matching the ground. I am 43, and I had been living with Nissa Calder for a little over a year. Our place in Philomath smelled like cinnamon from her little wax warmer that ran all day. A stack of seed packets sat on the counter because she swore she was starting a balcony garden. Every night at 10, she locked the door and said, "Home base," like a promise. Nissa was 41 and worked for the city as a procurement analyst. She dealt with bids, vendor rules, and paperwork that could not get sloppy. She also had a male best friend, Riven, who built custom metal fixtures for restaurants and parks. He wore a leather apron even when he was just dropping by, like life was always a workshop. I tried to be mature about their friendship. I did not ban him and I did not play games, but I did notice small things, like how Nissa got brighter when his name came up. A mini hook hit me then. If you feel like a guest in your own home, something is already wrong. We also had time pressure closing in. Our lease renewal meeting with the property manager was scheduled for the next morning at 9. Nissa wanted us to sign for another year because her commute was perfect from here. I had a boundary report due the same week for a land dispute, and I needed stability to focus. That afternoon, I got home early to print a couple of maps for my report. Nissa was in the kitchen, phone in hand, moving fast like she was cleaning up a spill. She did not greet me the way she usually did. She just blurted, "Can you leave the house for an hour or so, please? I need some privacy with him." I froze with my work bag still on my shoulder. I asked, "Privacy with who?" She said, "Riven, my best friend, it's not a big deal. I just need space." That was confrontation one, and the words landed like a door closing in my face. I waited for her to hear herself and take it back. She did not. She looked at me like I was supposed to nod and disappear. A mini hook rose in my chest. When someone asks you to leave your own home for another man, they are setting a line for you. I kept my voice even. I said, "Take all the time you need." Then I set my keys on the entry shelf and walked out. I did not slam the door because I was not trying to be dramatic. I was trying to be done. I drove to the far side of town and parked near a little riverside trail. I sat there listening to the rain tick on my windshield. In my work, when a boundary stake is in the wrong place, you do not argue with feelings. You set the boundary stake where it belongs, and you let the map tell the truth. That is when I opened the email again. The access log showed our gate code was used at 3:12 p.m. It listed Riven's name because Nissa had labeled him in the system months ago. "So it's easier," she said. Location proof does not need imagination, it just needs time stamps. Here is advice number 1, simple and practical. When something crosses a line, save it right away while your head is clear. Screenshot the message, the log, the date, and the time. Later, people will try to rewrite what happened. I took one clean screenshot of the gate entry record and saved it to a folder. Then I turned my phone face down and stared out at the gray river. I told myself I would go back in an hour like she asked, but my body already knew I would not. 20 minutes later, my phone buzzed again. Nissa texted, "Can you stay out a little longer? He's here." That was the communication proof, and it matched her words perfectly. A mini hook hit me hard. She was not asking for space from stress. She was asking for space from me. I did not answer her. I just stared at the text until the screen dimmed. Then I opened our shared delivery app because I needed to distract my brain with something normal. Nissa had insisted on using one account for house stuff so we could track spending. Normal things can still tell the truth. There was an invoice sitting in the order history. 2 hot sandwiches, 2 sides, and a bottle of sparkling water from a cafe I had never picked. The delivery address was our townhome, and the time was 3:28 p.m. That was the money proof, and it landed like a weight. A mini hook line slid through me. He was not just in my home, he was being hosted in my home. It was not about 1 hour anymore. It was about respect, and respect was gone. I felt my decision settle into place, quiet and final. I drove to a storage yard on the edge of Philomath where I kept my field gear. The air smelled like wet plywood and diesel from the nearby farm trucks. I opened my unit and pulled out 2 plastic bins, 1 duffel, and my document tube. When you set a boundary stake, you take what is yours and you stop arguing over what is not. I did not go back to the house yet. Instead, I called a friend who owed me a favor and asked about a place to sleep. He said I could use his small travel trailer parked behind his woodshop in Alsea for a week. It was not fancy, but it was quiet, and quiet felt like oxygen. By the time the hour was up, Nissa called. Her voice was light at first, like she expected me to be at a coffee shop. She said, "Hey, where are you? You can come back now." I did not answer with a speech, because speeches are how you get pulled back in. She called again a few minutes later, sharper this time. She said, "Eamon, are you being serious right now? Where did you go?" That was confrontation too, and it was the one the chosen moment demanded. I said, "Don't call me, I need privacy too," and I hung up. My hand shook after I ended the call, but my mind felt strangely calm. I blocked her number for the night, not to punish her, but to stop the loop. A mini hook hit me: if you stay reachable, you stay negotiable. And I was done negotiating my place in my own life. I drove back to the townhome when I knew she would be distracted. I did not knock because I still had my key and I still lived there at that moment. Inside, the cinnamon wax smell was stronger than usual, like it was trying to cover something. A leather apron was hanging over one of our dining chairs. I did not search rooms or open drawers like a stranger. I went straight to the bedroom and grabbed essentials. Clothes, my laptop, my surveying license card, and the small box of photos from my dad. I set the boundary stake again in my head. This is not a debate. This is a departure. As I carried my duffel out, I heard voices in the kitchen. Nissa laughed in a soft way she rarely used with me anymore. Riven said something low that I could not make out. I did not go in to look because I did not need a scene to know I was done. Outside, rain had turned the walkway slick. I loaded my things into my truck and drove off without flashing my lights or honking. A mini hook line followed me down the road. Dignity is sometimes just leaving without begging for answers. That night, I slept in the travel trailer, listening to the heater click on and off. Around midnight, a voice message came through on my phone before the block fully synced. It was Nissa, frantic and crying like her control had cracked. She said, "Please stop. I only needed privacy with him for a minute. You're making this huge." That audio clip was the killer receipt because it captured her own words and her own logic. Here is advice number 2. When someone is panicking, they will try to change the subject to your reaction. Do not take the bait. Save the exact words they said, because exact words do not bend. The next morning, I listened to the audio again with a clearer head. Nissa had not said, "I'm sorry." She had said, "You're making it huge." A mini hook hit me. People apologize for harm, not for being caught. I needed guidance that was calm and clean. So I called a lawyer whose name I found through a local mediator listing. His name was Selwyn Harrow, older, quiet, and direct. He told me to meet him late at a 24-hour coin wash in Albany because he liked places with bright lights and witnesses. The coin wash smelled like soap, hot metal, and vending machine coffee. Selwyn listened while I showed him the gate access log screenshot, the text, the delivery invoice, and the audio clip. He did not raise his eyebrows or ask for details I could not prove. He just said, "You are not overreacting. You are responding to disrespect with a boundary." Selwyn gave me 3 short steps. First, separate shared accounts and subscriptions in a lawful way. Second, put your move out in writing so she cannot pretend you vanished for fun. Third, if her job is tied to what happened, consider reporting any misconduct you actually saw. That last part made my stomach twist. I did not want to be petty. But I also remembered Nissa's job, her strict rules, and the way she always bragged about fairness. Riven had been bidding on a city park project for months, and Nissa was part of that process. A mini hook hit me. Privacy requests are often about hiding something bigger than feelings. When I replayed the day in my head, one detail stood out. Nissa had asked for privacy right when I got home early, right when she did not expect me. She had been clearing the counter like she was hiding papers. And Riven's leather apron on my chair felt less like a visit and more like a meeting. I went back to the townhome only once more at lunchtime, when Nissa was at work. I did not rummage, and I did not break rules. I simply collected my remaining work equipment and checked the printer tray by the desk we both used. A draft bid checklist was sitting there with city letterhead, half-printed, like someone hit cancel mid-page. I took one photo and left it on the tray. I did not steal it, because I did not want to become the wrongdoer in my own story. Advice number 3. Do not win by doing something you cannot defend later. Clean hands make a clean exit. That night, I sent Selwyn everything in one organized email. He replied with one sentence, "Your boundary stake is solid." He told me to write Nissa one message and then stop. So I did, short and plain. "I have moved out. Please contact me only through Selwyn Harrow." Nissa did not take that well. She showed up at the travel trailer the next morning, eyes swollen, hair messy, hands shaking. She pounded on the door like I was hiding from a storm. I stayed inside and did not open it because my safety mattered too. She left voicemails from the driveway, crying and pleading. She kept saying, "It was just an hour. You're throwing away everything." A mini hook line landed. People who respect you do not measure you in hours they can erase. I saved the messages and did not respond. Later that week, Selwyn asked if I wanted to report the potential conflict issue to the city. I thought about it for a full day. Then, I remembered Nissa's words, privacy with him, and how easily she treated my home like a waiting room. So I sent the evidence to the county ethics board that oversees city procurement conduct. I did not add insults and I did not make claims I could not prove. I attached the access log, the text, the invoice, and the audio clip. I wrote one sentence. "This occurred during an active bid period and I am concerned about off-site meetings." Then I let it go. The consequences started quietly and then hit hard. Nissa was placed on administrative leave while the board reviewed communications and vendor contact rules. Riven did what people like him do when heat shows up. He sent a statement saying Nissa initiated everything and that he assumed I approved because she told him I was fine with it. That betrayal was almost predictable. A man who needs privacy in someone else's home will not protect the person who gave it to him. A mini hook hit me when consequences arrive, character shows. And Nissa's best friend chose his own skin. Soon, people in our neighborhood knew something was wrong. Nissa stopped attending the weekend market she loved. Riven's shop page went dark for a while, comments limited, silence heavy. Social judgment does not shout, it just closes doors. Nissa demanded a meeting through Selwyn. She said she wanted to clear misunderstandings before the lease renewal. Selwyn scheduled it at a local dispute resolution center in Corvallis, a plain conference room with a long table and stale air. That room felt like a map office, all lines and no comfort. Nissa walked in looking smaller than I remembered. Her hands trembled as she set her phone down. She started talking fast, and Selwyn raised one finger for calm. Then I asked one question, slow and simple. "Why did you ask me to leave my own home for privacy with him?" That was confrontation 3, the final one, and it followed the pattern exactly. First she denied and said, "I never said privacy with him, you heard it wrong." Then she minimized and said, "Even if I did, it was an hour, it was harmless." Then she partially admitted and said, "Okay, I needed privacy because we were discussing a project and you get tense about Riven." Then she made the emotional move, tears spilling like she could wash the facts away. She said, "I was under pressure, you know my job is strict, I was trying to manage everything." She reached toward me and said, "Please don't leave me over one stupid moment." I said, "You didn't ask for privacy from life, you asked for privacy from me, and that is the line." Selwyn handled the rest with short, sharp steps. He spoke about lease removal, property lists, and no contact terms without turning it into a lecture. Nissa cried harder when she realized I was not coming back. I set the boundary stake one more time in my mind. A line is only real if you do not step over it again. That afternoon, I returned my key through the property manager's drop slot. I changed the code on my storage unit and removed Nissa from the billing autopay we shared. I also updated my emergency contact at work because I needed clean separation. A mini hook landed. The exit is not one moment. It is many small locks you close. 2 months later, I took a contract in Ogden, Utah with a surveying firm that did larger infrastructure work. My days got busier, but my nights got quieter. I started training a younger tech to read plats without guessing. It felt good to build something that did not ask me to shrink. I met someone steady through a weekend volunteer trail project. She listened more than she talked, and she never tested my boundaries like a game. One evening, we ate dinner at a small Nepalese restaurant near the old train station. Warm lights, soft music, no drama. For the first time in a long time, my chest felt unclenched. Then the cliffhanger arrived in a small, ugly way. A message request popped up on my social app from an account with no photo. It was Nissa, writing, "The ethics board wants you at a hearing, you have to help me." I stared at it, feeling that old rain on my skin again. I did not reply right away. I looked out at the street and watched a car pass, calm and ordinary. In my world, lines matter because they keep people from stepping where they should not. And whatever came next, I knew I would not move my boundary stake again. Thank you so much for watching the video. Don't forget to like and subscribe the channel.